At the end of the last video, we were talking about how in Belize we've had particularly difficulty at sometimes looking for people to fill some of these roles as assistants to the auxiliary board, cluster institute coordinators, or as area teaching committee members. And what was mentioned was the fact that when we start looking for people to fill these roles, one of the best ways we can do that is just by looking at people in the community already who have been doing a good job as a tutor, who's been doing the practices with their particular participants and actually going on and accompanying them and making sure that they're able to do their service well. And also we can look at people who have been doing the practices, and in particular those who have been good team leaders, people who have been able to not only do the service well themselves, but are maybe able to help other people too. So when we look for those type of people, those are the people we can immediately plug in here in terms of developing our cluster agencies. So when we go from milestone 1, which is basically individual efforts, on to milestone 2, where we start developing structures within the cluster to be able to help the cluster develop, and we start looking at making sure we have the proper people in the cluster agencies that are supposed to administer affairs, then at that particular case we can look at tutors, for example, who have done a good job accompanying, because that's exactly what the cluster institute coordinator is supposed to do. And so we could maybe put that person in there initially to work by themselves, but maybe in the future as things grow, they'll focus on being able to work in the study circles area. Then we look at people who have done children's classes, who have worked with children, have been able to bring other people in and accompany them to be children's class teachers as well. We can have them come in and be an institute coordinator in that area, and the same thing would work for the junior youth groups. In the in the situation of area teaching committee, in that particular case we look for those people who have been involved in Book 6 and who have been out there teaching. Especially again those that have been team leaders, who have gone out there, have done the practice, have led teams of people to talk to people within the community, understand how the journals work, scheduling events, the teaching materials needed, how to get those materials. Those are people we'd immediately plug in here. And in terms of being assistants, we just plug in anybody who's been working in this institute process that's been actively involved in doing the service and in accompanying other people as well. The basic idea is if we're doing the study circles correctly, if we're doing that with the practice, and if we encourage people who are involved in service to work with other people and accompany those people in the implementation of those services, then what will end up happening is that we'll automatically have people who can come into these particular positions, who will be familiar with the skills and the attitude and everything else that's necessary to be successful, and will likely be able to take on these roles pretty well. So at the end of it, the basic idea is that the practice, the study circle, is essential because it's a foundation activity upon which almost everything else in the cluster is built. By doing the practice, we actually are able to go out there and have growing numbers of people who can be resources to the community because they're confident and skilled in terms of doing what they're doing. And the tutors themselves get to experience accompanying those people who are doing those things, and we develop a culture of accompaniment that will help provide support throughout the whole system. And then eventually those people who are doing this work will be able to fill in the cluster agencies that are so essential for a cluster as it moves from milestone 1 to milestone 2. I think that's about it. I hope we have a good discussion about issues like this in the coming future, and if there's any questions you can always write, and we can hopefully further the discussion there. Thanks.